butcher it. Nahum. Okay. All right, we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you get started on your fitness journey. How's it going, everybody? Hope you're all off to a great week. Hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving, and I hope y'all are doing okay. We have another podcast guest coming onto the show today. We have Mr. Nahum Vizakis. I think I said that correctly. So he's going to be joining us for the podcast today, and we're going to talk about. He just come out with a new book, so I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about that. The Biohackers Guide to Spiritual Bodybuilding. So we'll get into that. So I know I told you a little bit, but just a little bit about the podcast. We're just here to help people get started, help beginners or people that are kind of new to their fitness journey, help motivate them, and just learn a little bit about fitness, keep them going, just to inspire people and help them learn throughout this journey. And that way we can do it together and don't have to do it alone. So that's a little bit about us. But if you would, kind of introduce yourself and just tell everybody what you do, like who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, what's up, guys? My name is Nahum Vizakis. I'm known as a spiritual bodybuilder. I spent most of my teenage years playing sports, but when I went in the military when I was 19 was when I really discovered my gift for athleticism. And I just completely fell in love with it. It was the first thing that I really came into understand of that I'm really good at it, and movement is life, right? So I really got super serious into it, particularly when I turned 30. From 19 to 30, I was kind of dabbling, in stuff here and there. I got into mixed martial arts, and I was doing more military style calisthenics, hit training, things like that. But it wasn't until I was actually getting ready for a fight. I was training Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in EOD school in the military, and I tore my left bicep tendon. And after that happened, I was going through school, and I was nervous that I was going to fail out of school, and so the PT was actually kind of based on bodybuilding principles, right? Like very controlled form, constant contraction and awareness to the muscle tissue in order to be able to heal it. And once I got done healing my bicep tendon, I decided to just continue training like that. And then about, I'd say a year later, I got deployed to Iraq. When I got deployed to Iraq, I had a team member that had to stay back for a little while. So I had like 2 months where I was a team leader in a new EOD team, and I had a little bit of time on my hands. So I just started going to the gym and training. And one of the civilians that was training at the gym at Camp Taji in Baghdad walked up to me one day and was like, "Hey, if we throw on a bodybuilding competition, would you compete?" And I was like, "Okay, why not?" I had all the resources available there to me. And she happened to be an IFBB pro back in the States and was over there. And, like we ended up getting together like a good, I'd say 15 to 20 competitors. And so I trained for 2 months, completely natural. And I just kind of guessed. Back then, this is 2009, and they didn't have all the resources out there they do now for information. So I had bodybuilding.com, the forums, and bodybuilding.com, and Muscular Development Magazine. Those were my two go-tos. And through just experimenting with nutrition and feeling out, I just got super obsessive for like 2 months. I ended up winning the overall. And after that, I really discovered that, wow, being able to control and really conform and mold my body into these shapes, it felt really good. I felt like, like I really accomplished something. And I just got the bug, and I had all these judges telling me that I was, a natural, I was born for this. And I just blew the competition away. So once I got out of the military, that's when I really started to get going. And in the span of 4 years, I competed in 8 shows. And 2 of those shows, I did 2 categories. That's when Men's Physique first came out. And then I really got serious about wanting to go pro. But in 2013, I went from the local level where I was dominating shows, and I went to the national level. And I also went from light heavyweight to heavyweight, and that's where I just got my ass handed to me. And I realized that I had kind of built my identity around bodybuilding. I was also struggling with some PTSD from getting out of the military, and I got blown up a couple times, so it rocked my brain a little bit. And so at the same time, I was really going on a spiritual journey, trying to discover who I was, my identity, understand my own PTSD, and dealing with death and the likes of that kind of energy. And I was going through a bit of my own death and rebirth processes as I was really getting deeper and deeper into understanding the human body and its connection to human emotion, and the even deeper connection to like life experiences and situations, karma and whatnot. So in 2013, I ended up doing nationals in Miami. I was supposed to be on a reality TV show, right? It was going to be called The House of Huge. And the day before we were supposed to start filming, I had my tickets packed, I was ready to go, and everything was good. And one of the sponsors backed out. It happened to be the sponsor that was letting us use this mansion that we were going to live in. It was, this was around like the Jersey Shore time, where everybody
Mm-hmm.
was doing those like, reality TV shows and stuff. So I was really excited about it. It didn't happen, but I still went and competed in that show anyways. But all the stress from all the change at the end, I didn't really dry up properly. And like I said, I got my ass handed to me in that show, and I went into a bit of an identity crisis. And then I kind of shifted lanes for a while. I started seeing, my friends, some of my friends that were still going really deep into it, starting to have some serious health issues. A lot of guys were choosing to do more and more gear and go down those rabbit holes. And my body started rejecting it, and I was starting to feel kind of like, shitty. So I backed off. I actually, right around then too, 2014, I went to massage school. And when I was going to massage school, I it was the first time in my life. I'm from the Northeast, right? So in the Northeast, we're just go go go. People just work hard and have a very aggressive sort of lifestyle. And so that's what I was used to, just going, going, going all the time. I think at this time too, I was taking Adderall, and it was great for being productive, but I didn't really know how to slow down. And I
Mm-hmm.
think around that time, around that age, it started to catch up to me a little bit. So when I went to massage school, I learned how to, they call it getting to your beingness, right? Slowing down, breathing, becoming present in order to be able to do this deep, energetic work on each other. About 2 months into doing that, I had this massive SER. For your people that don't know what that is, we hold on to emotions in our physical tissue, in our fascia, right? So when I finally slowed myself down and I was in this safe space and doing this slower, more expansive work on my body and my mind, it allowed the space for it to move all this stuck emotional energy that I was actually all this muscle that I had built up was kind of being used as armor, as a control dynamic for myself. I didn't understand this until much later, but that's what really opened my mind to the deeper understanding of what true health and wellness is, particularly for longevity purposes. And so I went through this SER. It was a massive like fascial unwinding. It happened for like 2 hours. It looked like I was having a seizure, and I was very confused. I didn't know what was going on. I felt very different, and I didn't want to eat the same foods. I didn't want to be around the same people. But I started doing body work, on people, a lot of athletes. I was living in Vegas at the time, and I discovered that I had a gift of kind of communicating with the human body at a different level. And once I started diving into that experience and that process, it really changed the entire dynamic of my life. At this time in my life now, I'm kind of coming back to implementing some of the old bodybuilding principles that I used to live by, but also incorporating all the biohacking, all the spiritual concepts and components, and really living my life as my name implies, as a spiritual bodybuilder. So this is why I wrote the book, from all my learned lessons of all the 35 years of really being an athlete, all the different chapters, all the do's and don'ts, all the messing with peptides and biohacking and steroids, performance enhancing drugs, all these things. There are healthy ways to do them and there are unhealthy ways to do them. And when we can take a step back and break down and see all these different things that are happening, it's really profound what we can learn about ourselves, because the fitness journey is very much like the hero's journey, in my opinion, right? You like when you decide, if you decide to do an event, like compete in a bodybuilding show, do an ultra marathon, or even go in the military, right? All these things are going to test you and they're going to stretch you. They're going to make you question yourself. They're going to promote opportunities for you to grow and learn and expand. But you're also going to have to dig into yourself and discover certain parts of yourself that may have been dormant within you, right? So So when you make the decision to start your fitness journey wherever you're at, right? Whether it's you're 350 pounds and you want to be 150 pounds, like my good friend Anthony Lawley, or if you're getting out, or if you're making a transition from being married to being single, or even single to being married, or if you just had a huge accident or a surgery and you're trying to recover from that, each of these is going to test a different part of you and give you the opportunity to really become the best version of yourself. Question is, are you really willing to step back and unlearn the bad habits, be brutally honest with yourself, and really do it to be healthy? Or are you doing it to compensate and from an egoic place? And there's some there's some parallels in a positive and parallels in a negative way when it comes to that. I break all this down in my book, but you know especially as we get older, it's very important to look at longevity, especially in the state of the world, right? Once 2020 hit, that whole, pandemic thing, I think it really brought the awareness of health and what really does it mean to be healthy. And so a lot of people are paying more attention to their health now than ever. They're looking at, look, all these foods, the toxins in our foods are killing us, the toxins in our air, the toxins in our water. You really need to know what you're doing and stay away from all these chemicals and all these toxins. It's burdening our body. We have to incorporate detoxification as well, right? So there's a lot of different topics that I just kind of brought up that we can go down. So why don't you pick one and we go get deeper in one of those directions.
Yeah. So what branch of military did you serve in?
I was in the army, but I went to a Navy Special Warfare School at an Air Force base. So I worked with a lot of Air Force, a lot of Navy, a lot of Marine Corps, even a lot of like what we call OGAs or other government agencies. So my job, if you watch any like special operations TV show or whatever, they always have an EOD guy attached to their team or their unit, right? EOD is a bomb disposal for the military, but we focus on, we specialize in identifying the patterns of behavior, psychological operations, as well with the tactics and procedures that the enemy uses to try to outsmart us. And we're more like a detachment where we detach and connect to different units for specific mission purposes that the bigger version of the army has going on.
That's pretty cool. That sounds like some tough stuff there. Yeah.
It definitely it teaches you about yourself. For me personally, school for me was actually, I'm not gonna say easy, but I did very well in school because I knew, like, when you're in a school setting, like, you're not gonna die, right? You
Hmm.
know that there are parameters that they're trying to get you as close to feeling it for real as possible. But once you get into combat, and then you really experience, for me, going to combat, running my first mission and actually handling an IED for the first time was a massive reality check for me, because I thought, like, in school, like, I was fine with it, but then when I was in a real life situation and when I picked up this IED and I realized, oh shit, I can die right now, it hit me so different because now it's real. And whenever anybody's in a circumstance like that, the autonomic nervous system sort of takes over, right? The functioning of it. And I thought I was the kind of guy that would just get tunnel vision, everything would slow down, and I would just, blast right through it. Well, I had the opposite response. I actually froze, and like I had like a panic attack, and I didn't know
Hmm.
what was happening to me. And I felt like a wimp. I felt like a man, but that actually was probably the first part of my spiritual awakening, back in 2009, 2010. And that taught me a lot. Really, the biggest thing was that when I was younger, especially growing up where I did, I bounced around foster care, and I had to fend for myself in a lot of ways. I was in survival mode, so I thought that I was a fighter, right? What I came to really learn is I'm not a fighter. I could if I really had to, but my passion is I'm a healer, and I'm a lover. I love animals. I love people. I want to help people. I want to see people do better. I want to do the opposite of try to hurt people and kill people. That just ain't me. It's not in my heart. That was my ego. What I thought I wanted to go out and kill terrorists and do the whole GI Joe really badass thing. And maybe to a certain extent I was, but I was coming from a place that wasn't authentically me, and it was a very humbling experience to go into that and realize, whoa, hey, okay, I got to really own who I truly am. And then since I've done that, and I've really come into myself, now I can do miraculous things to help bring people back to themselves. And it took a lot of humbling experiences in life to be able to really truly own that.
Hmm. Well, I want to say thank you for your service. I really appreciate what you
Oh,
did.
thank you.
But
Appreciate it.
it's funny to hear you say that, like, I'm a healer and I'm a lover, because just looking at you, like, you don't give that vibe at all. You're, for
Yeah,
anybody that's not watching the video, this dude is absolutely jacked, got covered in tattoos, got his fresh vest on, he's looking all spiffy. Like, you do not give that vibe off at all.
that's why you can never judge a book by its cover, brother.
That's true. That's true. I just, when you said that, I was like, That's definitely not what I thought at first." But I can definitely, just from hearing you talk, I can tell how passionate about it you are. So I can definitely tell that it means a lot to you, and you can tell that you kind of learned from that. Like you said, it's kind of a spiritual journey that you've learned to heal from that. So that's awesome. And now you're trying to
100%.
give that back to other people. So that's awesome that you do that.
Absolutely, and like to correlate that to the fitness journey, right? I myself, when I started my fitness journey, I did it from a place of self-loathing. I didn't understand this too much later, but I was always comparing myself to other people. I want to look like Arnold, or I want to look like Rich Piana, or I want to look like somebody out there that's just huge and jacked. But that looked like badass to me, right? But when you look at something, the cover of something, that is not synonymous with that person's energy, with that person's character and substance. Now, you meet some people like a couple of the biggest guys I know, Craig Goliath. He's literally, I think, the biggest bodybuilder in the world. He's like 360 pounds, right? And he sings death metal. But he has a little Pomeranian that fits in the palm of his hand, and he'll give his shirt off his back for you, right?
Hmm.
Like nicest guy in the world, but he's super intimidating. When you step back, the dude's 6'4" and 360 pounds, and like especially with his band, he's like all that kind of stuff, which is wild. But then afterwards, he's like, "Stop, guys!" And then
Yeah.
another one, Kai Green, which is gotten to be a close friend of mine, and he's one of the greatest, most legendary bodybuilders in the world. The dude is massive, and he has such a chiseled physique. And when you talk to him, he's also like, what up, guys, and just all super happy and like, chill and go lucky. Even like listen to like Ronnie Coleman's voice, man. Like when
Hmm.
Ronnie Coleman talks, he talk like this, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be super surprised. Even like when I was living in Las Vegas many years ago, like when I was doing a lot of body work for a lot of pro fighters and athletes and bodybuilders and whatnot, and a lot of pro fighters too, man. Even though they beat the crap out of people for a living, they are some of the most humble, nice, kind people in the world. There's a certain outlet that when it comes to the heart, it makes you extremely powerful. And all this to say, coming back to my main point for your listeners out there, right? If you're getting into a fitness journey, make sure that you're doing it because you want to fully express yourself in an authentic way. If you're looking at fitness and you're like, I need, if say you're 19, 20 years old, right? Nobody should mess with any PEDs before 25 years old. I'm gonna put that out there right now. And you can maximize your natural potential for 5 to 10 years. All right. Then, if you decide you want to compete or you want to go that extra mile and you really make the choice that, okay, I'm going to go into this and I know that I may never come back to normal, I might have to be on testosterone for the rest of my life, right? Then that's your decision. But anybody that starts before 25, you are forming your identity around muscle, and you're also retarding the growth in your prefrontal cortex in your brain. You're going to retard the growth in your bones, in your entire frame, and that is going to have profound consequences that you're not going to see till 10 years down the road that you really can't come back from. maximize your natural potential first, whatever you're doing, and do whatever it is that you're doing. Love it, not because you want to look like someone else or appear, have the external appearance of something outside of yourself, because that is giving your power away to something that you don't even know what the truth is behind all that, right? A lot of people out there, man, especially like beautiful people, like, living in Vegas for 10 years, I was around a lot of really beautiful people. Some of the beautiful people have the ugliest souls out there, and some of the people that aren't super beautiful, their energy and their soul makes them beautiful. Never ever
Mhm.
judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. um, I was gonna say, you was talking about the bodybuilders being just the nicest people.
Yeah.
It's I think a lot of people get a misconception when they go into like a gym, especially like like an old school like hardcore gym where they, it's real dungy in there and they got the music playing. Like those people in there, they'll be the most intimidating looking people, but they'll probably be like the nicest, most welcoming people in the gym. I feel like a lot of people get that wrong, that because people get intimidated a lot when they go into a gym.
Yeah, and well, so what you're talking about, like dark, grimy, like push yourself to puke. Yeah, that can have its place, but now you got to be careful because some of those people can be ego-based weightlifters.
Hmm.
Um, I just started going to this new gym down here in South Florida. It's called Wolf Gym, and it is. I've been to the nicest gyms in the United States. I used to train at Gold's in Venice, Fit Club in Las Vegas, even Carbon Performance in Nashville, Tennessee. C-Bum's gym, beautiful, right? I've been to Metroflex. I've been to all the nicest ones down there in Phoenix, in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'll tell you what, this gym is setting the standard for quality of gyms everywhere, and it's because there's a lot of pros that train there. There's a lot of really serious people that are serious about their fitness, but there isn't all the ego. There's nothing that annoys me more, and of course I don't let it get to me, but I don't like to train around guys that have a lot of ego. These guys that have inflatable lat syndrome, they're walking around with their lats inflated all the time, or they're just throwing around weight and being loud and like grunting and like lifting way too much with shitty form, right? And being very just gregarious about it. There's there's a certain way that you can carry yourself professionally. You don't need to be slant. Like I don't lift super heavy weights, man. When you see me in the gym, I'm a student of bodybuilding, body sculpting, right? Creating hypertrophy, form, deep, like training for me is like a meditation. So, and I love, like, I have a couple workout buddies, we go to the gym, and I love to learn and also teach at the same time because everyone has something that they can teach or learn. So, as long as if you're around experienced people, or even if you're hiring a coach or you're going to a gym that does seem intimidating, look to see if it's actually an inviting, if they're inviting you in and being like treating you like a family, or are they judging you, or is everybody in there judging each other? That's going to be the defining and differentiating factor for where you're going to get great gains, or you're going to go into a dark place and just start judging yourself. Because if you're training with other people that are judging everybody else, that means they're judging themselves, and that energy, that vibration is going to leak onto you, right? But if you're going into a place you feel at home, you feel like you can explore and try new things, even if you don't know everything that's going on, you can go up to someone and ask, hey, like, I just saw you do this. What is this doing? What is that doing? Be curious, be inquisitive, right? And then look at your own fears. If I know it's easy sometimes to get insecure, especially if you're just starting out, and there's guys around you that are all super jacked and everything. But people that do this for the love and when they love themselves, like I love it when someone that's just getting into their game comes up to me and asks questions about what I'm doing,
Hmm.
right? Because I would rather help see, even if it's just one piece of information, see and understand a deeper concept of why something is done the way it is. And then they take that and they learn from it and try to, do it even better for themselves, right? There is no one right way to do this. For me, it's a very intuitive process. I have to feel it. In fact, sometimes when I go in the gym, I'll throw in binaural beats and I will visualize and I'll breathe more like martial arts. And I will create, I will tune in my breath with my movement, and I'll even do like, sometimes I'll pose in between my sets, and I'll even just start getting down, doing some weird shit, man. Like I do some weird shit. But fitness, particularly bodybuilding, it's about discovering yourself. And you only discover yourself through experimentation, right? So on one hand, if you're going into a gym, if you're trying to find a new gym or really realize, is this the one that's it for me? Go in there. Yes, you can feel fear or you can feel a little intimidated with people that are in really great shape. That's one thing. You need that, and that's what you have to face within yourself. But really look on a deeper level to see, does it look like people are walking around with their heads inflated and they're very egoic and they looking around all judgy, nobody's talking to each other, everybody has their headphones in? Or are you working out where people are just randomly talking to each other, high fiving each other, right? Or people seem to be more interactive in their approach, right? And also look for like a diversity, like see if they have a like an octagon or like personal trainers where people are practicing, like some cardio kickboxing with yoga. Like do they have a little biohacking studio with the infrared sauna and a cold plunge, right? All that stuff is it's at our fingertips now, right? So we can really. And I'll tell you what, man, like best pre-workout in existence. Go do a fucking cold plunge for 3 minutes before you go hit the weights. Woo, man, that'll jack up your dopamine like 400%. It's uncomfortable as hell, but you don't need all this stim and all this caffeine and all this and all these like vasodilators. You just need to shock your body into a new place. There's so many ways to do it, man. So many ways. But you got to follow and find what really drives you, and have also simultaneously have the courage to look at your own insecurity, your own fear, and look and see, am I creating a story in my mind that I don't really know the answer to, and I'm going to avoid, going to a place where I actually feel inspired because I feel insecure, or I feel that maybe because of how it looks, I'm just not meant to be here. That's you getting in your own way, and how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So own it, be authentic. Authenticity is the highest vibration you can go, and that will lead to taking actions that are loving to yourself. And when you do anything that is loving for yourself, you're going to have the greatest outcome.
Yeah, I like when you pointed out that you said you will create a story in your mind that's not even true. Like people judging you or talking about you or stuff like that. That's so true. And I think a lot of people kind of do that. They walk in, they see the kind of the big swole guy, and they're like, and they start creating these things up in their head, which is most of the time not true. So I like that you pointed that out because that does happen a lot. And also the point where you said you want people to come up and ask you, like you love when that happens.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Like I encourage people all the time on the podcast, like if you work out in my gym, like hey, come ask me a question. I will try to help you out the best I can. Or whatever gym you work at, there's somebody in there that's experienced. You can tell by just how they look or what they're doing. You can tell they're experienced. They would love to help you out. Like most people are pretty nice and want to help other people when it comes to fitness, especially if it's something like they're passionate about. Like that's the whole reason I do this podcast. Is I'm passionate about fitness and I want to be able to help other people. So I love it when other people try to ask me a question. I'll try to help them the best I can. So I
100%,
encourage people
man.
to do that.
Hell yeah. If you look at my boy Joey Swole, right? You know who Joey
Hmm.
Swole is, right? Like he's a real one, and he went through some health stuff because he was on a lot of gear, and he had to learn some hard lessons. But he goes around and he calls out these people that are being douchey and like making fun of other people. Like, guys, don't be a bully. Like I got bullied when I was a kid. That's actually kind of where my fitness journey started, because I was getting bullied, and then one of those bullies actually had sex with my girlfriend. I was like 18, and of course it was her fault too. But at that time I was like, all right, I'm gonna get jacked so that none of this shit ever happens to me again. And that was my initial motivation. Of course, it evolved quite a bit over the years, right? But bullies suck. Don't do that. Okay.
Yeah, I like what Joey Swole's doing. I know it's just weird seeing a lot of that stuff online because I don't personally see that at my gym. I work out at YMCA, so
Uh,
honestly, it's a lot of older people that work out at my gym, so you don't
okay.
see that a lot. And there's not a lot of social media that goes on at my gym. I know when you go to those big, if you're in like a big city with the bigger gyms, you see a lot more like influencers and stuff. So that's I think that plays a little bit more into it. But I never see that. So like when I see people online just straight up being rude to people in the gym, I'm like man, that's just weird because that never happens at the gym I work out at.
Well, that's good, man. I'm happy to hear that. It's a lot of times like the EOSs or like the LA Fitnesses or the Planet Fat
Hmm.
and Happy Fitnesses, like those kind of gyms they're like $10 a month, and they just have so many people that join them, and you get young kids, you get little punks, and then the little punks create little squads,
Hmm.
and they got nothing better to do, right? So, but this is like energy attracts like energy. So, if you're in South Florida, come down and check out Wolf Gym. I think there are other ones around. It's a franchise, right? But
Hmm.
they market and brand themselves right. And then other places. I don't know where you located at, man?
I'm Mobile, Alabama.
Mobile, Alabama. I was in
Hmm.
Huntsville, Alabama for a while.
That's
Um,
the other side of Alabama. I'm at the
yeah,
bottom.
yeah. Yeah, so you're like way down there in the Panhandle,
Yeah.
Bible Belt, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. So I was at Eglin Air Force Base. That's where I was stationed. I was going to EOD school.
That's
Right there.
Pensacola. Is that
Yeah,
Pensacola? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, yeah. That's pretty close to me. That's about an
yeah.
hour 15 for me.
Yeah, so there are some nice places to train around there. Not too familiar with anywhere else around Alabama though. But if you start
Hmm.
going out west towards like into Texas, you got some really nice places out there. Um, and then of course even further out west, not too much in New Mexico from what I know, but you get into Phoenix, Arizona, Vegas, LA, San Diego. There's some awesome spots around those areas.
Hmm. So in your book, you call it the Biohackers Guide to
Yep.
Spiritual Bodybuilding. I know you talked a little bit about the sauna and the cold plunge. So
Yeah.
what are some biohacks that you like? What are some that you talk about in your book? What are some of those biohacks? Like what does biohacking mean to you?
So biohacking is utilizing natural means to optimize the body and the mind, whether it be recovery, whether it be performance enhancement, or whether it be cognitive optimization as well. They all kind of come into play, and doing this without burning your cells out or having any kind of negative influence in your body. There's two different, I'd say, fundamental categories when it comes to biohacking for me. There's diagnostics, and then there's the tools that are utilized from the information that comes from the diagnostics. So for diagnostics, number one thing you've got to get measured is your gut microbiome. The
Hmm.
microbiome dictates how everything else is going to work. Think of it as your third brain, right? You have your brain, you have your heart, which is also functions like a brain, and then you have your gut, which has its own part of the immune system attached to it, which has all the microbes. We literally have trillions of microbes floating around in our body, right? They haven't mapped, I think, even half of the full microbiome, but they're getting there. However, the general understanding is we have 85% in a healthy gut. We have 85% beneficial bacteria to 15% pathogenic bacteria. Nowadays, because we're bombarded with all these toxins and whatnot, people are more typically around the 60-40 mark. And so detoxification is also a must when it comes to keeping your body as healthy and optimized as possible. But biohacking is equals optimization. So when you're training, right, peptides are a great biohack. This jacket, this ion weighted vest, is an amazing biohack. And all you're doing is putting something on that's going to improve the efficacy of everything that you do by 20 to 60%, right? Literally, you can change nothing, and you're still going to be burning more fat. You're still going to be cleaning your lymphatic system. You're still going to be focusing more on form because you can feel it deeper. So many incredible benefits. All right. But then you have the other ones that are more biochemical, like infrared sauna, which is great for also cleansing out the lymphatic system. You have red light therapy, which is awesome for optimizing mitochondria, for keeping your skin, hair, and nails nice and healthy. It also just happens to make you bring out the vascularity in a good, lean physique if you're below like 8%, right? And it'll also help the processing of lactic acid in the body and even the digestion of different nutrients in the gut. So then you have cold plunges or cryotherapy, right? Which is the opposite. The heat is really good for inflammation. The heat is really good for tension. The cold is really good for inflammation. You could also combine them and do contrast therapies, right? If you have an injury or just got out of surgery, those are really great methods to be able to spike the immune system and hit it in a way where it's hyper attuning to where the vulnerabilities are in the body, so you can recover faster. Especially this day and age, if you're getting ready for an event like an ultra marathon, or even just like a Spartan race, or
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding competition, right? All these things, these processes allow you to train longer, harder, and better, and you don't have to necessarily take all like the stim pre workouts and a massive amount of like supplements. A lot of the supplements, especially in the bodybuilding industry these days, are crap. They
Mm-hmm.
all have sucralose and artificial colors and artificial flavors and artificial preservatives that keep them like, yeah, you might be getting some good stuff in there, but you're getting a massive amount of toxins with it, and that stuff's going to catch up with you eventually, right? I'd say peptides is probably the most advanced and most beneficial biohack out there that can also be combined with all these other things. And this is going to be more deliberate towards like sort of anyone that's, I'd say, over 30 or 35, right? In the older age, when the natural production of all these different peptides are declining, but the real reason why they're declining is like it's not age. It's because it's an accumulation of waste, emotionally and physiologically, right? So we live in a society that is promoting and creating addicts. It's almost a norm these days that everybody is an addict. It's rare that you find someone that is not. And the bodybuilding industry attracts addicts like shit attracts flies. Okay, it's crazy. So you have to be incredibly mentally resilient and strong to be able to see these things. And I myself fell into that trap. I got addicted or attached to the external validation, and I was up there, and I was doing great things, but I didn't get sponsored like I thought I was, and I didn't do as good at the national level that I thought I would be. So I had these expectations, but ultimately it led to my own demise, the seeking outside of myself for something that was not authentic, and I had to learn the lesson the hard way, which is right around the time I discovered plant medicine. And for me, plant medicine kind of saved my life from my own egoic nature. It helped me awaken to the understanding of where I was getting in my own way. I had a very strong self sabotaging nature to myself. And when I started to discover and understand these things, it completely changed my approach to training. So now I'm literally like, I'm bigger and in better shape now than I was even 10 years ago. Right. But I'm not obsessive about it like it used to be. I used to be like a
Mm-hmm.
fucking Nazi drill sergeant to myself, eating 6 times a day, measuring all my calories, getting to the gym twice a day, and doing all this. But my cortisol was fucking frying my all my receptors, right? And I was also for a little while I was taking too much gear, and I was beating myself up. So I started having digestive issues, and I started getting burnt out, like severe chronic fatigue, right? And I couldn't hustle like I was before. So now I don't really like I lift because I love to lift, but I'll eat. I'm not going to eat perfect. In fact, I kind of intuitively eat. So some days I'll eat more, some days I'll eat less. Maybe every now and then I'll have a chocolate chip cookie. Right? I'm not gonna beat myself up as long as I like I'm not going and I'm hiding in my room like Schmiegel and I'm sneaking like a whole pack of Oreo cookies. Because I used to do that when I was competing after a show. Like I would buy like $100 worth of junk food and just lock myself in my room and just fucking eat like I was, from the Lord of the Rings. It's crazy. And I know like when you really restrict yourself from that place of sort of self-loathing, eventually the energy has to bounce back, right? So now I don't do any of that. So now I don't have any of those kind of problems, right? Now I may not be as, I could be leaner, I could be bigger, I could be more vascular, I could be a lot of things. But I have more important things in my life now, like creating healthy relationships. and building my business, right? And being authentic. And, like if I'm tired and I feel like I need to take a day off the gym, I'm gonna take a day off the gym. I might go do a HOCAT session or go sit in the sauna or stretch, right? Or even meditate or do breath work, right? And I take the time to deliberately do that and not beat myself up for not, having a pump or being, 6% body fat or whatever it is that in my mind, I wish I could stay at. Because look, like, and especially social media does this, like you get a concentration of seeing all the best physiques in the world out there, right? And you can get like a little delusional when, especially the algorithm will pick it up. You'll see it every day, all day, right? So now you're thinking you were aiming to get to that place. It is not possible to sustain that, guys. It is not. You will drive yourself into the freaking ground. Not to mention that genetics has a big part to play with all that, right? So, you know, if what I'm saying is resonate with you guys, right? Pick up my book, and I go way deep into all the topics that we discuss here, and I really break it down so that you can see: am I following this behavior pattern, and is that bringing me in this direction? And if it is, how do I turn it around, or how do I utilize taking HGH and testosterone and peptides beneficially as opposed to hurting myself, right? And when is the right time to make these decisions and how? All those things and more I cover in my book, and because I see the new generation of bodybuilders out there, their bad habits have skyrocketed beyond what we were doing when I was, deep in the game back then. Like back then when I was competing, I'd say at the most at any given time I was taking maybe 1,800 milligrams or less of any kind of, overall, anabolic substance, right? Maybe 4 IU of HGH, like when I was, pre-contest. The guys now they're doing 10 IU to 20 IU a day with 5,000, 10,000, milligrams of like gear, and like for what? The body can't even use half that shit. It is pointless, and it's actually incredibly self-destructive. And I've had friends die, man. Boston Lloyd was a good friend of mine. Rich Piana, Dallas McCarver, right? I met Cedric McMillian a few times, but all these guys, they got caught up in that whirlwind of energy, and it took their life. So that's why I'm doing these podcasts, to share with you guys, like, there is a better way, and I've been on both sides and I've seen it. And so I lay out exactly how to see within yourself, what's driving you and where are you at in your own hero's journey. And also look, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So you have, when you take a step back, you see how you're playing this game of fitness, which is essentially the hero's journey. Are you sabotaging yourself? Like, are you acting as a wounded child out there in the world? Or are you actually fulfilling a prophecy to become the best version of yourself through your fitness journey, and then creating something beautiful to help others, just like I'm doing with you guys right now, to improve your fitness journey? It's the gift that keeps on giving, the authenticity of your path. But you got to be brutally honest with yourself in order to be able to really step into that. And that's my message for you guys.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that because I kind of find myself in that same position where I'll kind of compare myself to other people, especially on social media. So like
Yeah,
I want to be bigger, I want to be leaner, but then again at the same time, like I have all these endurance goals as well, so they kind of contradict each other. So
yeah,
I'm in that weird place of like I want to go harder with my training, my working out, but I want to go harder at my running and stuff. So it's like I have to like give myself a little bit of grace and realize that I can't be great at both. I kind of have to find that good balance. So I've been better at that. Like taking a day off, like you mentioned. Like I don't hesitate to take a day. I took Saturday. I was supposed to go for a long run, and I didn't do it. Like I just took it off, and I'm not mad about it because I'm gonna go back to the gym. I'll be in the gym tomorrow morning.
there
So
you go, man. Get
yeah,
it. And look, and the other side of it is, like, don't beat yourself up when you make that decision. You make a decision, you own it, and that's that. And there's going to be a lot of trial and error, right? There's biohacking and bodybuilding. I kind of feel like bodybuilders are like the original biohackers, because all it is experimentation, right, with all these different things. So get out of your comfort zone, experiment, and play with different stuff, but also watch your own mind, right? Like, li- like you said, things happen, things come up. You're not always going to be in constant level shape. Aim for it, but then if you miss a day or if things aren't perfect, don't beat yourself up and don't try to be perfect. Go for optimization, not perfection. Perfection, there is no such thing. So
Yeah,
you kind of set
absolutely.
yourself up for failure if you are trying to be perfect.
Yeah, as I've gotten deeper into my fitness journey, I've definitely learned how to kind of dial it back and give myself grace. Because I was like you, like I would eat certain times of the day, going to
You
the
know?
gym, doing exact workouts. Like I was to a T. So now I've gotten older, I dialed it way back.
Good for
Especially
you.
doing adding in some more like endurance sports. I've had to dial my training way back. Like right now, I'm only working out 3 days a week, which is I'm used to going 6 days a week. So it's a
Okay.
whole different, it's a big different change for me.
You
So I've
know,
had
you know, Dorian Yates, he only trained 4 days a week, but
to
when he trained, he was fucking
draining.
pissed, right? Like he was pushing himself all the way to his mental limits every time. Now, some could say that, you even do that and, you're risking injuring yourself and whatnot. I believe that there's a fine line with that, right? Because we don't know how far we can go until we've gone too far, right?
Mhm.
I've gone too far many times, but the important thing is that I learned from it. So as long as you're learning from it, that's the important thing to take away from it, and then apply what you learned, and that's how you grow. And as long as you're in a growth process, you're not in a decay process because exercise also it's the best remedy for virtually everything, right? Movement, exercise, it keeps you younger, it keeps you stabilized, it helps process emotional trauma, it helps strengthen the integrity of all the systems in your body. And then, you combine that with different nutrition techniques. I mean, you know, now that we're in this new technological age, it's so funny because the most fascinating technology in existence is still the human body and the human mind. Like other technology, it's amazing, it's wild, and we can get more information and utilize this technology more efficiently with it. But I think a lot of people are actually getting lost in shortcuts now because they're forgetting the most important part is to take care of the OG technology, right?
Mhm.
The whole point of everything that's happening right now in this new world is to be able to I think live longer and discover the deeper parts of the gifts that our physical body is giving us. We only get one body in this lifetime. This is our temple. And granted, I've definitely made my temple a bit of an amusement park. Okay, like when I was younger and I was less aware, I 100% admit it. But this tells a story, right? All these tats, all these things that I've done, to myself, it's part of who I am and where I came from. I'll tell you what, I can't get tattoos now. The last time, like, I was getting this sleeve done, and I literally started having physical, um, like, it was getting like gangrene. It wasn't healing right, and it was like getting scabby and stuff. My body is like rejecting the ink, because it's really the ink is toxic, which is why again also I'm so big on detoxification. So I realized all this ink, man, my lymphatic system is screwed. I've had to do I do an infrared sauna like 5 days a week. Sometimes I'll add niacin or NAD to help enhance it a little bit, but I'm constantly detoxing because I'm going to be 47 in a month, right? I want to stay young, I want to stay healthy, I want to stay virulent, right? And I want that longevity. And with everything that's coming through now, like the future of the fitness industry, I believe all these medical breakthroughs are going to create environments where we're going to be able to live a lot longer and even start to reverse our age. I think within the next 5 years, we're going to have gene therapies out there that can reverse our biological age. And actually, we're going to be living to 150, 200 years old.
You watch a lot of Brian Johnson.
I love Brian Johnson, man. Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually meeting him next month. I'm pretty
Oh,
stoked.
really? That's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that. So I've been doing a lot of the kind of stuff that he's doing now. I've been doing that stuff kind of more underground, but for like the
mhm.
last 10 years.
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. I like a lot of his stuff. I know he gets a lot of hate because of what he's doing, but
Well, people
honestly,
hear what
I
they
think
don't
it's great.
understand, man.
Hmm.
Right? But I love the most recent thing he did the 5 grams of mushrooms and he and he wore the anodes and got all that scientific data from doing mushrooms. I've done a lot of so I do live and dry blood cell microscopy. I analyze blood through a microscope, and I've done a lot of before and afters with combo, before and afters with ayahuasca, and before and afters with iboga, and I found some fascinating results. Now I can only see patterns of behavior. I don't have millions of dollars right now to be able to do all the deeper analysis that he's doing, but I plan on it someday.
So when you refer to plant medicine, is that what you're referring to, like the ayahuasca and stuff?
Yep.
I never heard of the other ones you mentioned, but I've heard of the ayahuasca before.
Combo, bufo, and iboga.
Is that kind of the same thing as ayahuasca? I'm not familiar. Are they
They're in
different?
the same family, I would
Hmm.
say. Iboga is kind of in a class of its own. So iboga, it comes from Africa. All those other medicines come from South America.
Hmm.
South America and parts of southern United States. But iboga is unique. It's not for everybody, but it's the most powerful medicine on the planet, particularly for addiction, right? But even more so, it's a complete reset. I mean, it'll even clear out karma from past timelines. Um, it's a major commitment, and it's the only medicine that can actually, if you're not very careful and don't do proper testing, it can actually kill you. So you have to be really careful with that one. I used to run an Iboga clinic down in Mexico, and I've had some pretty intense experiences. After I did Iboga, my life entirely changed. It's actually a big part of where I got the name Indigo Flame from my other book, and it actually helped me to be able to step back and observe my whole life to be able to write my other book, which the Indigo Flame. It's about my life story, and that goes more into the plant medicine and my spiritual experiences and a healing gift that came out of all my deep spiritual work, and then combining that with the bodybuilding to kind of bring in a unique approach to healing that to this day I don't really know anybody else is doing it. So I like to think of myself as a pioneer. Man.
Don't a lot of people utilize the plant medicine for PTSD?
100%. It's excellent
Hmm.
for PTSD, for TBI, and honestly, virtually everything.
Hmm.
There's a different there is a between even those four that I mentioned, you can heal virtually everything. Now that's is a bit of oversimplification. You need to get diagnostics. You need to see where the diet needs to be at. But the big thing, and this big thing, major, huge, is the one thing that I see most people neglect, is the emotional component to a physical ailment. I don't even believe in the word disease because there's such a taboo with that, right? I believe in imbalance. And when what the beautiful thing about these medicines is it combines the physical, emotional, and spiritual components of the imbalance simultaneously. So when you go to that gets to the root cause of whatever imbalance is in there. It cleans it up, it heals it up, but then you have to make the behavior pattern changes in your life to keep it healed. Because there's a corresponding pattern of behavior that goes with every imbalance in life and in the body, right? Like a thought process that keeps you from attracting money, right? It's if you go into if you're trying to lose weight and getting into your fitness journey and you're beating yourself up and you're super hard on yourself, you're pumping cortisol in your body. You're not going to lose that weight that you want to because you want it so bad.
Hmm.
You want something too bad, it's like a carrot on a stick. You'll never have it, right? So you have to shift your mindset and believe, because that belief will mitigate and balance out your nervous system, and that will clear out the cortisol over secretion, and then that will allow the fat burning furnace to turn on. And that's all coming from emotional imbalances. So when we can correlate and look at and be willing to face and alchemize that emotional imbalance with a physiological imbalance, things heal like that.
So how do you do that? Like how would you go about putting the emotional and the physical together? Like what does that look like?
So, so diagnostically speaking, I everybody kind of resonates with a different aspect of diagnostics, meaning that when we look at the blood, right, we're looking at the patterns of behavior of your cells. When we look at blood work, we can see where your biochemistry is at, or is at in alignment or out of alignment, right? I also do astrology So astrology is looking at the psychological factors of the energies in your consciousness, right? Different things resonate with different people. What I like to do is bring them all together. And then whatever people I find are asking more questions about or seem really interested in knowing more, that's the area of the diagnostics that they're drawn to. And we'll go much deeper into that. Then once I help correlate what the biochemical imbalance, how that correlates to a physiological imbalance. So I'll do a postural analysis, right? Say someone has their trap stuck up here like this, or say they have lower back pain, or they're really tight hips, right? Each part of the body represents a different emotional aspect, right? So the hips is the root chakra. That's feeling safe in life and feeling grounded. This means that you have control issues. You're in your head all day long and you're just trying to make sure that you have control over your environment, which really all we have control over is within, right? So that's giving your power away to the control dynamic from a place of fear. Really, it always comes down to fear, some kind of fear, and then some kind of faith. When you can face the fear, but you have to really understand it and agree with the connection of these things, and that is something that you have to be ready for. That life has had to beat you up enough to where you realize, hey, I got to change something. I don't know what it is, so I'm going to be open to whatever this might be. And then,
Mm-hmm.
so I correlate the physical postural imbalance to the biochemical and behavioral pattern at the cellular level. And then, of course, the astrological component is the psychological. And then I correlate all those three together. Once we have the awareness of that core imbalance, then I usually create customized protocols for people. And that can be it really unique for everybody, depending on like have they ever worked with any plant medicine, or if they've never done any mind altering substance before, I'm going to start real slow, right? Maybe with just some FST, some vibroacoustics, some breath work, something like that, right? And then I'll start adding in the different medicines that can help to clear the mind and just relax the body and get more tuned in with understanding the signaling process of what's going on in the body. And as we start to understand how the body is responding to whatever stimuli is being placed on it to change, whether that's a nutrition plan change, whether that's like a sleep plan, whether it's utilizing vibroacoustics and breath work, right? Whether it's cold plunging, all these things will have a immediate effect, and that immediate effect, when you can stay present with it, right? Like a cold plunge sucks really bad, but and so sometimes you might just go somewhere. You might just try to, dissociate from it because it's too much. So you practice coming in the present moment during that extreme discomfort, and that it's that extreme discomfort that will teach you about yourself. So, like I said, everybody's a little bit different in that process. But me personally, I absolutely love serving ayahuasca and doing ayahuasca ceremonies and going real deep and just, it's like pulling demons out of people and shit. I fucking love cleaning people out like that.
So what is vibroacoustics? Did I say that word? What exactly is that?
Vibroacoustics, yeah. So, like, at the very core, we are vibrational beings in nature, right? So, we're all vibrating at a specific frequency. Well, I have this device. It's called a vibroacoustic sound lounge. And when you lay on it, you can use binaural beats or any kind of music that you want. I like to use medicine music as well. And this vibration will hack the nervous system into a balanced state about 90 to 150% faster than without it, right? So if you're like a stress bucket and you're really tense, which correlates to being up in your head and you can't shut your head off, right? You lay on the sound lounge, you focus all your attention on your breath, you listen to this very calming music, and your nervous system just totally evens out. Now, I'm a firm believer that we're not going to need plant medicines probably 5, 10 years, because humanity is going through a shift right now, right? We can all feel it. And as we're going through this shift, we're clearing out what no longer serves us, but we're raising our vibration, thus meaning we are getting more sensitive to vibration. So sound baths, vibroacoustics, even like just listening to specific music and or harmonics. When we learn to tune into it and really let the vibration just kind of absorb into our consciousness, we can utilize that, and we can have more and more control over where our own vibration is at. We can feel it when when it's getting out of alignment, and then we can also feel it when it is in alignment. It is that awareness. Think of it like the light spectrum, right? We can only see, a fraction of the entire light spectrum. We can't see infrared light, right? Let's say we'll just take that for example. Imagine once you open yourself up and shift the bandwidth of the frequency awareness, then that allows you to see into that infrared spectrum that you couldn't see before. Now you have this whole much bigger range of awarenesses within yourself. So you realize, wow, I didn't realize I was so angry. I didn't realize that I was like, my mind was spinning because I was so distracted doing this other shit. I didn't realize that my wife, my husband was upset. I didn't realize that I wasn't paying attention to my daughter over here, right? It's so easy to get distracted in life. And that's another thing that fitness is great for, right? But are you using it for that intention to bring yourself back to being present and then being around the people that you love and care about and bringing that presence into their experience? And once we embody this vibration of alignment, that vibration will act like a magnet to bring everyone else in our environment into that alignment. Now, if someone is not wanting to come into alignment or grow like that, then they're going to trigger the hell out of you, and then you're going to bump heads. And you might have to be like, all right, that energy was not good for me. It was stealing. It was stealing. It was they were being an energy vampire. They were teaching me a lesson, but they don't want to grow with me, so they're going to have to grow without me. And then we have to have that healthy boundary, cut that out, and then we utilize that extra energy that we just took back into ourselves for empowerment, and we feed it back into the machine of self love through exercise. All right.
So what would you say to those people out there that are very like they don't really believe in kind of like the kind of the spiritual side of things. Like some people call it like woo woo. Like how do you? What would you say to those kind of people? Like, see, you definitely believe in it 100%. So I'm
Yeah.
just try to help other people kind of understand. Maybe they something. What could you tell them to be more open minded and maybe just try it? Because like sometimes people are like, nah, I don't believe in that kind of stuff.
Look, if someone doesn't believe in it, you can't get them to believe in it. So I say
Hmm.
focus on what you do believe in. And as long like plant medicine is not for everybody, peptides aren't for everybody, PEDs aren't for everybody. I will say fitness is for everybody though, in some
Hmm.
form or fashion, because movement is life, right? So whatever it is that you do believe in, provided that this belief system is making your life better, then commit to it. Because there are more than one way to have a spiritual awakening, right? Just case in point, my first spiritual awakening was in Iraq, right? Getting blown up and dealing with a lot of like personality, um, uh, uh, you know, confrontations. So, so I feel like life will ultimately bring opportunities for you to learn, to expand, to grow. And if plant medicine ain't your thing, it ain't your thing. That's okay. You know, whatever is your thing. If you're a devout Christian and you go to church and you feel like that the pastor speaks to you, right? Then you go ahead and follow that, right? Or if you just want to go out in nature and do breath work or whatever it is that you might do, go with what you feel drawn to, go with what you feel speaks to you, and own it and accept it. As long as it's coming from an authentic place of yes, I really truly like this and this is what makes me feel right, then it's right for you, right? I ain't trying to say that my way is everybody's way. It's what helped me.
Hmm.
And that's why, I love to share my experiences, but I'm also well aware that this is not for everybody.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that. So, different things work for different people, and you got to try it all out and see what sticks. Same with fitness. Like there's so many different styles of fitness, and I always tell
Yeah,
people try them all out, see which one you like, because some of them you're probably not going to like, and some of them you may enjoy more than others. So might as well
exactly.
experiment a little bit with it. So
100%.
for somebody that wants to get started today and try to kind of find more of that that spiritual side of it, what would you recommend they do like today? Like what's something they could do today to start with that?
Get my book. um, I mean, if you're talking about wanting to like learn more about how to get into spiritual practices and whatnot,
Yeah, yeah, or just how they can relate it to their fitness journey as well.
I mean, listen to content like this. You
Mhm.
can. reach out to me, send me a message on Instagram, spiritual_bodybuilding, right? That's what I'm here for. There's lots of people talking about this kind of stuff out there. Aubrey Marcus is like a pioneer in this field as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so seek it out and listen to what feels right, and then continue to follow what feels right to get more and more information. You'll feel and you'll know if it's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trying to force something, if you're trying to chase something, then that's something that you may want to kind of look within about, right? But of course, if you're asking yourself this question while we're talking here right now, um, you know, one step at a time beyond where you're at right now. So you're here listening to this podcast right now. Next step is you get my book or go ahead and listen to some other content, right? Continue to feed your mind and or even just sit with it, right? Go with what you feel called to do. And ultimately, you do that one step at a time, and the answers will come and the guidance will come. The more you trust it, the faster and louder it'll get. But that all comes down to you trusting your own heart and getting out of here, getting out of the head.
Absolutely. I was going. I just had a question I was going to ask you, and I forgot. I do this all the time. I swear. Uh, oh, breath work. I was going to ask you about breath work. I'm pretty interested in that, and I haven't experimented with it enough myself, and I want to try it out more often because I see more and more. I see more and more people talk about it nowadays. So it's obviously it's a legit thing. So like, what would you recommend for somebody that's just getting started on breath work? Like, how would you recommend they go about it?
Oh well, like you said, there's many different ways of approaching breath work. Breath work as just a regular practice with itself. Um, Look at Wim Hof's training kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, or there's another guy out there, the Certified Health Nut. All right, he's another good one when it comes to breath work. Uh, I have a friend Curtis that lives out in Colorado. I don't remember his last name off the top of my head, but for me personally, I utilize breath work to coordinate my movements in the gym to optimize the Bohr effect in my body. Now that's something very specific and a process that it's kind of like a martial arts process that I use in bodybuilding. That's something that's a little more advanced as far as the scientific component to it. But at the very core, breath work is excellent for being able to control and manipulate your own central nervous system. So you can bring your central nervous system into parasympathetic dominant state within 10-15 minutes. You can bring it into a sympathetic dominant state within 10-15 minutes. You can activate DMT secretion in your brain within about 10-15 minutes, right? So these are all different. You have to take slightly different approaches and routes to have these particular outcomes. So you have to ask yourself, well, what state am I in right now, and what state do I want to get to? Once you can answer that, then specifically you can look up online like YouTube, right? Like breath work to calm the nervous system, and you'll have hundreds of videos come up. Breath work to for pre-workout, or breath work to prepare for a cold plunge, right? Get as specific as you can for an end result and start there. For me personally, I like to use breath work to calm myself down. When I'm on my sound
Mm-hmm.
lounge, I breathe in and out to relax my whole body and relax my mind. When I'm working out, I use it to dig deeper into the mind muscle connection. I visualize along with it, and I also use my breath work to flush lactic acid out of my muscle tissue. All right. So you can create it whichever way that you want. And that's the fascinating thing about the human body's technology, because like you are the only you out there, right? So there are the only downside to all this is that there is so much information, and that you really have to get dialed in on what you think you want. Now, also, you may think that you want to optimize your sympathetic nervous system, right? But when you start it, you get an opposite result. If that's the case, then you're lying to yourself. And then that's what you have to be honest with yourself about. You may think that you want to get hyped up for the gym, but your nervous system will say, hey, we're already stuck in fight or flight. We actually want to be in rest and digest and chill out. It's your ego that's trying to get somewhere that it's not meant to be. All right. And that's just where the experimentation, the feeling, and if you do something that is meant to have a specific outcome and it does not have that outcome, the answer now becomes you're lying to yourself. And then that becomes a new direction. Okay. So, do the work, but be open to learning things that you didn't expect to learn.
Mm-hmm. Are you a fan of Gary Brecka?
I love Gary Becker. In fact,
Yeah.
he's the part owner of this company.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I like Gary Brecka a lot. I know he talks a lot about the breath work. He's the one that kind of got me interested in it.
He
Uh,
is he has a fascinating approach to understanding human biology. And I love he's such a curious guy. And I love how he also too just wants to help people.
hmm
Yeah. But he actually talks a lot about this vest.
So
Um, and,
tell me a
and
little bit about the best. I'm not familiar with it.
so the one I'm wearing right now is called a boardroom vest. This is more for like fashion. And the regular workout vest, it combines compression with weight, but the weight's only for a man my size, it's roughly 12 pounds. All right. But with the compression, that creates the heat with the weight. When you put it on, it doesn't even feel like you're wearing any weight, number one. Number two, it creates what's called fractional loading. So because it's also compressed, it'll actually align your posture. And especially when you're working out, you can feel your posture about 5 times more deeper and more definitively. So it's almost like having a personal trainer to coach you on your form when you're training, right? Because it keeps you aligned like that. But not only that, while you're working out too, it keeps you in zone two for about 2 to 3 times as long as you normally would be. Zone two is where the fat burning furnace is, right, with your metabolism. It also helps to flush out lactic acid and it pumps up the lymphatic system. So it's helping flush toxins out of your body via two different mechanisms simultaneously. So it's making everything that you're doing more efficient.
That's pretty neat. So it wouldn't be the same as wearing like a normal just like weight vest. You got to have the compression
Now,
with it.
the
Yeah.
compression makes all the difference in the world. And
hmm
me when I was in the military, dude, like I used to do ruck marches with 80-pound rucksacks on my back, right? I wish I had something like this when I was in the military. Because it would have saved my lower back, number one. But also, you can wear a rucksack with this on your back, and it's going to make when you get tired after like 17, 18, 19 miles on like a ruck run or a ruck march, man, your shoulders are hurting, like you're compensating all over the place. This will keep you from doing that. It'll help you reset and reassess your posture in different ways. So you might have to bring it a little bit higher, bring it a little bit lower, but because you have the protection going on here, it's going to keep you in alignment and in check with your body's positioning. And that, above all, is the biggest and most pertinent aspect, in my opinion. You see a lot of kids these days because they're on their phone all the time. They got the shoulders humped over, right? We're seeing hunchback a lot more nowadays in younger and younger people. We're seeing posterior and anterior pelvic tilts in people because they're sitting all day, right? All these things can be aligned through the vest, and you can stack other things on top of it as well. You can wear this vest with virtually any kind of exercise, virtually anything, and it's going to have a benefit, and you're not changing anything. The only thing that I would recommend is that you definitely stay well hydrated because
hmm
as your lymphatic system is clearing, that's making you sweat more. So in the extra sweat, you're gonna well, and I'm down in Florida. You're in a pretty warm climate too. This may not be relevant to
hmm
people living in like the Northeast and like where it's like 10 below. But and it also it looks pretty cool too, man.
So you're wearing it during your workouts and everything, just around the house. You're like that's
Yeah,
okay.
man.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
And then one last question before we let you go here is
Yes, sir.
you mentioned something about being on the show Wipeout. Is that
Yeah, yeah.
like the big red balls Wipeout?
Yeah, yeah. It was 2012, and I was like in the in the heyday of my bodybuilding career at that time, and I was living in Phoenix,
hmm
and I got a message on Facebook from like somebody from their team. They're like, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" They were doing a show called Brains versus Bronze, and I was like, well, screw it, why not? And mind you, I had never seen the show before.
Oh wow.
I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I was like, "Ah, I'll just drive out to LA and go do this thing, have some fun. Because I figured I just got out of the military, like I'm competing in bodybuilding. I'm in ridiculous shape. I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna smoke this thing,
Hmm.
right? So I went into it a little too arrogant, honestly. And when I got there, man, like they did like a 2 day long like health checkup to make sure that I was good, and I still didn't think anything of it. Then I get to the actual environment where we're getting ready to go into the whole obstacle course, and there's all these bodybuilders, right? They have IFBB pros and all these guys, and then they had all these like PhDs and like people that were from Harvard and like teachers and shit, and they're all wearing like wetsuits and like covered. They asked all of us to wear like shorts and tank tops so we could show off our muscles. So we were like, and I didn't realize um, it was February 2012 in the mountains of northern LA, and it gets cold there in February, man. So we went out, and they wouldn't even let us look inside the obstacle course. There was a fence around it, and they walked us around and said, "We're all going to line up right here. You have to face away. Then when they call your name up, you just turn around and go up, and then go do it." So I think I was like number three. It was like 4:30 in the morning,
Oh
right?
wow.
There's frost on the ground. They had to break up the ice in the water, to get ready to go. And I'm in a tank top and like these flimsy little shorts. So I'm the third one. They call my name. I get up here, and it was like a huge movie scene. There's like a crane with the director in it, and there's a team of like 50 people standing there, and the director is like, say your tagline, say something funny, and I didn't know what else to say, so I was like, Mongo Smash, right? Like, what else am I gonna do? And and then they kind of coaxed me to say a few more lines, and they're like, all right, now go. And I was like, go where? Where am I supposed to go? I just want to go. And then like there was a guy, over next to me. He's like, okay, you got to go right over here. It was some stairs that went down. I couldn't even see past the stairs, but this thing was huge. So I just reacted and I ran. And as soon as I got over the stairs, boom, like I fall into this bathtub with this water that was like 40 degrees. It was like getting hit with like an ice bath. So I
Hmm.
was like shell shocked. I could barely breathe. And then I get up, and as soon as I take a step, there's a hand right in front of my face and just knocks me off of the platform. And I didn't even know what happened really. Like I barely came to. As I was swimming in the water to get back up to the next part, my arms and legs started locking up on me because they were so cold. So I finally fit, like after flopping on every single one, like every ounce of my body was covered in like cold mud and wet everything, and I didn't even bring a change of clothes, so I didn't have any clothes to change it to. And that was a qualifying round, so I was actually the only bodybuilder to finish the qualifying round in time. But then in the afternoon, they brought all of us like, okay, you qualified. Now here's the next one. We're gonna do this in 1 hour. And I was like shaking, and I didn't have any way to get warm, and I had no change of clothes, and I was like, I had hypothermia, like I couldn't stop chattering my teeth, and I was like, screw you guys, I'm out. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this anymore. It's a fun clip on YouTube, but I had hypothermia for like a week after that. I got pretty jacked up. It
Dang.
was because of the cold. The cold just
They
messed me up, man.
didn't have no clothes or blankets or nothing to give you.
I know, right? Could you believe it? Like they had a medical team on staff, but no, they didn't have anything. Like I guess I should have brought it, but I will say I did not prepare properly for that. I should have definitely. And this is before like cold plunges were cool. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was not used to that at all.
I can't believe you never heard of the show Wipeout. I feel like
I
that's
know,
pretty.
right?
It's the common thing around here. That's pretty fun. I thought that was pretty fun that you were on the show. So you can find it on YouTube. You can find a clip on there.
Yeah, just type in Nahum Vizakis Wipeout. It's a pretty hilarious 3 minute clip of me just getting my ass kicked on.
I'll have to look it up after this. That's
Yeah,
funny.
man.
So if you would, before we let you go, I want you to let everybody know where they can find your book at. If you got a social media or website or anything like that you want to shout out.
Yeah, so you can go to spiritualbodybuilder.com. and I have both my books on there. You can also go to my Instagram. That's where I do most of my work right now. Spiritual_bodybuilder, and I have a link tree right there. And that link tree, you can get to all my services, my books, all my information. And
Mhm.
feel free to reach out. I'm here to help and support in whatever way that I can.
Awesome. Thank you. If you would just leave the listeners with one little tip that you want to leave them with before we go. It could be anything.
Be authentic. Authenticity is the highest vibration, and if you do everything in your life through a place of authenticity, you will be successful, guaranteed.
Awesome. I like that. So thank you so much for joining the podcast. I really enjoyed it. I'm
Thanks
sure
for
the
having me
listeners
on,
will get
brother. It's been a
I'm sure
pleasure.
the listeners will get a lot from it. And y'all make sure y'all be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the Fitness Beginner